Because her assignments open on weird days. Like they don't open like one chapter a week. One chapter open 1 week, and the next chapter open 2 weeks.
Is that in psychology?
It's in
Oh, and then who's the teacher for that one? What's the last name?
It's fine.
Oh, she still teaches?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. So she only opens it for like a week and then shuts it and won't let you get it again? You just fail? What? So the opposite of what I do, where it's just open the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Do most people keep it open the whole time? Hello.
I think most people do. Yeah.
So she's the only one like, no, you guys need to learn timeliness. Are you presenting today? Oh, okay, cool. Do you want me to pull it up here on D2L, or do you want to plug in here for? Okay, let's see here. I gotta make sure I'm signed in. Oh, shoot, nope. It's good to hear at least homecoming was. Why was there so much stuff in Dayton? That's kind of confusing though too. Because they have like another campus and everything. Okay. Maybe because it's not dry over there. All right, so we've got this intro to social work. That's when you guys, I wish they wouldn't give me so many classes. Sometimes it's hard to keep them straight. Activities and then assignments, right? That way. It's probably under that one, right? Let's see. Sometimes they make you click right on there. This is an easy one to get points though, isn't it? Let's just go. Next. Did you attach your PowerPoint in this one?
No.
Okay. The other one. Okay. This is an easy point one, huh? Just like next. It's funny how it opens in there. Sometimes it doesn't want to read your document though. That's the annoying part. I don't know why it gives us a hard time though either. Oh, it just is the internet sucks. All right, I'll go back to the other one. How about that? Hello. So, how do you spell your last name? I bet you. Dang, we have that many students in here that it's wow. All right, cool. We can download it, and I can just like give feedback on my other one. Beaver Creek almost sounds like Colorado. All right, cool. Well, you want to get up here? Come on down. Hopefully it's not too cluttered up there for you.
Do I just have contact with it?
Oh, right. It just downloaded it. Let's see. It's probably, I don't know if it's touchscreen, but you could, if you want to, we could also do it from here and just press over, whichever way. Like,
You can skip this. That's just
let's see here. Maybe it's not. All right. I'm going to do PowerPoint because it's telling me to. There we go. Then you hit present, and then you can just hit like next, or I can, if you want me to, for you. It'll do the weird presentation.
I went to the Kendall in Beaver Creek, Ohio. It's like a taco shop.
You guys ever heard of that? Condados. You think it would be all Mexican servers, right? But it wasn't.
No, it wasn't
Okay.
at all.
Okay.
There was none. But in Beaver Creek, it's almost 85% white and then less than 3% black. So obviously, I was the minority. Like going there, I thought it was gonna be regular because we have this restaurant where I'm from in Columbus, and like the settings are similar because they're both like at the mall. So I just thought like it's gonna be the same.
Mm.
And it wasn't busy when we got there, so like it's not like the service had a lot of tables. But like when we got there, the host like she looked at us and then she walked away for like 5 minutes and she didn't seat us. And then after that, like we wanted to sit outside, and so she sat us outside. But then we didn't have a server for a long time, even though everyone else outside did. And they gave us the only server that wasn't white. He was like this light skinned guy with I don't know. And then he was the bartender, so like his section wasn't outside, so it was taking him like a long time to get outside because it wasn't closed.
That's
And
annoying.
he only came to our table like twice, like to take our order and then to bring us like the food. Well, and then to bring us the check. But like the first time he came to our table, like he was like rushing us to order, like he didn't want to come back anyway. And then they didn't give us like chips and salsa like how they did with all the other tables. Like we just sat there and waited for our food with nothing.
That sucks.
And then some stereotypes were like it felt like everyone there like seemed like better than like we were less than because we were black. It was because it was me and my cousin. And then we weren't served to the same quality as the other guests. And different communicative styles was like back home, the people like they weren't as welcoming and they didn't really talk to us, like it was just we were just kind of there.
Where's your hometown?
Columbus.
Okay, yeah.
And then I was just surprised like how bad the service was and like how unhelpful they were, like how unwelcoming that they were. And it was a poor experience that I wouldn't like recommend to anybody because I was upset and like disappointed that was the service. And then the conclusion just sums up everything. I was in Beaver Creek, which is a predominantly white city, and I thought it was going to be like back home, but it wasn't. And so like it was upsetting, and like I was just surprised at the experience.
Did it affect their tip? That's the $1 million question. Did you give a 0 tip or a 1%?
Well, I didn't get any food because they actually messed up my food. So I ordered nachos, and they only gave me tortilla chips with lettuce, and that's it. So I just sent it back.
Okay.
There was no tip.
Did
to
your
give.
cousin tip?
I don't know. I think she did, but only like $2. or
Right.
something.
Well, that's still like 20%, unless
Yeah.
if it was more than 10. So, okay. Well, thank you. Any questions? Anyone else presenting today? I can't remember. Okay. Do you want me to pull it up or did you? Okay. How do you spell your last name? That's a easy one to spell then, right? My computer hates this computer screen. We got Ashley online. Say hi. Okay. Let's go to. You're probably on the first page, though, I'm guessing. Assignments, and then this one. And they do it alphabetically. They make it. There you are. Okay, cool. Did everybody else survive homecoming okay? Anybody have fun or any? What's that?
I said we get to tell our story.
Oh, was it about homecoming?
Oh no, I was just saying like we live to tell our
Okay, right. Well, that's good. That is a good thing.
Okay,
Cool.
hey y'all, my name is Princess, and I went to the Chick-fil-A on the Cedarville campus, and I also just want to like walk around because they do have a really nice campus.
Mm-hmm.
And we go to dinner.
Okay.
Yeah, if y'all didn't know, it's a private Baptist school. It's like 10 minutes away. They have an 89% of their student population.
Oh,
is
it's
white.
Baptist?
Yeah.
Is it? I
and
didn't
it's
know
a private
that.
school.
Oh, okay.
And 2% is black, so that's like 91%, and the rest was other. It didn't tell me like what the other was. But yeah, I thought that was kind of crazy because being in Ohio, you know, it's not really a lot of black people, but you would think it was more.
It's
And-
13% in Ohio, so to be 1/5 or 1/6 of Ohio is pretty low.
Yeah. So, yeah, I expect people to be rude, judgmental, and uncomfortable because you can tell when somebody's uncomfortable towards you, and we all know what that looks like. And I said some common stereotypes that I feel like could go down a little bit. Where racial profiling, which of course is assuming you are a part of something negative because of their skin color. Intellectual, which is they just assume you don't know as much as they know. And cultural, they just assume you are not on what they are because you are black. Like they assume you're not on your business and stuff like that. And me personally, I feel like it was mostly these two because the waitress, not the waitress, I was at Chick-fil-A, but the people taking my order, they was just kind of rude and they was telling me like the prices and stuff, like everything I asked for, they was just like making sure I knew the price. And I feel like that was like odd because obviously I know what I'm here for. And they kind of took a long time to give us our stuff. Like I had to keep asking them when it was coming because everybody else was getting their stuff and they tried to make it seem like they just had ordered less than we did. But really, I feel like that wasn't the case.
It's not down, it's over. Okay.
Oh yeah, the communication styles, I feel like
Nonverbal.
yeah, I'll say yeah. When we all talk, I use a lot of like facial expressions and stuff. And when they was talking, they just was like scared. They just really wasn't saying nothing. They were just like nod. And I feel like that's kind of how between black and white people, that's how we're the same and different at the same time. Like they're not as expressive as we are, and that can be thrown off when we're talking to each other. And overall, I feel like the experience wasn't bad, but everybody was just at the end of the day staring, breaking their necks, like trying to look at us, see what we was doing, like while we was there. Like I feel like they were just watching, trying to see like what we was there for the whole time. And yeah, it wasn't bad, but I probably wouldn't go back because they had no mac and cheese at their Chick-fil-A. That wasn't my vibe.
They got nothing vegetarian.
They don't have nothing good.
They invited us up there and I tried to eat and the chair of our department said all they had was fried chicken for me and they had a salad for you because they don't have vegetarian food.
Yeah,
Like,
they don't have nothing.
we are invited to go there in 1 month. They have a speaker from the Department of Social Work in Uganda coming to speak up there. And they invited all of our students and they're going to also send us a bus and drive. I think it's 2:30 on a Thursday on like November the 16th. If that's the right Thursday. And so you all, they're encouraging, I would
That's 30
put
days.
extra credit. Is it a different day you said?
Just 30 days.
Okay, 30 days away. That's not bad. Yeah, 31 even. Okay, yes. I would even throw some extra credit at it because they do want us to come. They're trying to build connections. The speaker from Uganda does actually sound interesting. I think I'm taking my 2:30 class. They won't have any food for me because but it sounds like you handled yourself well. Like the whole point of this exercise is known. We serve every kind of population and you didn't have to go off on anybody.
No, I didn't have to act like an angry person.
Right. Yeah, you didn't have to. You keep your composure. You kind of, it's like we all will have that one client too, where it's like just a challenge for whatever reason. It might be.
It was more so funny to me because it was just like, of course you know these things happen, but like when it's like right then and there,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
watching people watch it was always funny to me.
Like, did they order your food? I remember somebody going there in the past, and then they like call your name out when your food's ready. They still do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And they told me when they had the person call out the name, they actually picked the only black guy who was working at Chick-fil-A to call out their name. Did they do that also, or was it?
No, she was just like hesitant to walk up to us when I raised my hand for it.
Okay, right. Okay. Interesting. Can you order on the app there too, or is it?
No, they don't use their app or like taking orders.
That is weird. Because like people do like Chick-fil-A, but I go for, as a vegetarian, I'll get egg and cheese sandwich in the morning. They don't have breakfast.
Yeah, they don't.
And I just don't think they have much at all. So, well, cool. Thank you for presenting on that. We got online participants. Let's see here. Any questions for anybody else? Who's all going Thursday? Okay. Then try to go by next Tuesday because I'm not here next Thursday. We have to go to the conference in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia. So I'll be gone. So ideally, we're keeping our accreditation. So it's Council on Social Work Education. By staying accredited, we save you guys an entire year in graduate school. It's 30 hours of graduate school at $700 per credit hour. So it should save you $21,000 in graduate school in a year of your life if we stay accredited. So that part's exciting. By sometime next year, you guys will apply to the program. So you're pre-social work right now. When you're finished with like the initial rounds of classes, I'll show you what it looks like when you do apply, because it's possible a lot of you are taking these classes in this semester. So if you're done with it, you can go ahead. It's on our website. So you apply to go from pre-social work to actual social work. And that's another one of the requirements for, here it is, pre-social work student hub application process. So if you are taking these classes, I can show you what it looks like. It's probably under assignments. Contents, grades, class list. There it is. So I think it's under assignments, and then there's the actual, oh no. I think it was right here, like on the main page. Are you guys added into this hub yet? Are you added into the application? It's the pre-social work student hub. Okay. And then, oh, there's the application. So here's what it would look like pretty much too. So you click on that, and this has the list of classes. So I think you have English, math, and they have you read the Code of Ethics, which luckily we already did in this class. So different policies, different codes. They do want you to have a 2.5. To graduate, we actually kept it at a 2.0. So keeping your GPA at 2. If you keep above a 3, you could get scholarships to, oh, so there it is. It actually has you fill out just kind of like manually. Let's see if it will autofill for me. Wouldn't that be nice? No, it doesn't. So you just kind of go through it like this. If you were, they even have you put your date of birth. And then I want to see if I can get to the list of like classes. So it asks some details, but then it asks like your GPA, which is required, and then say you've got a 3. It might not let me go into the next. email a group. See if this way works. So if you had the orientation, but then here's the classes you guys mostly have, like 1100. Do you guys have these right now? Next semester you could take 2200. Is anybody taking social work 2200 yet? That's intro to social welfare. Are you taking it? Anybody? Okay. So probably next semester when you're done, you would have your grade in here. You put your grade in there. I think you have to have at least C's in all social work classes. Are you in English 1100 already? So everybody's in English. Anybody in math 750? So that's the last one for when you apply. And then, are you in FYS 11? Is that another is that like everybody takes that one too?
What is that?
Usually stands for first year seminar. So it's the same as USS?
Yes.
Is that okay? So it's the same thing. And then normally they want you to have either 15 or 30 completed. So that's what it would look like when you apply. And like I said, I think ideally B's, but you have to have at least all C's. And then it does ask if you're a transfer. I don't think that it does anything else if. Then where you've been employed, and then just, so that's what the hub looks like. We also have it on a social work website. So if you just go to like Central State, you can fill it out the old fashioned way on a piece of paper. So what would you guys prefer, to do it like that click through, or like a Word document or PDF where you like type it in and fill it out? You could do either one. For the application. So you can do it on that click through. You like the hub thing better?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's an option now. In the past, all we had was social work website. So here's what it looks like. How many social work majors are there? Do we have 3? That's it? Just 4? Really? And what are the rest of you guys? Psychology, chemistry, psychology. Chemistry is legit. You got to mix some
What do you
stuff.
want to do? What do you want to do at your job? Orthodontist.
Fix my teeth. I had 3 sets of braces. Yeah. I was a bad kid. One time I got a detention because I pulled them all out and I bent the wires, and I was like, teacher, I got to go to the orthodontist. And they're like, okay, get out of here. It was supposed to be after school detention, and it totally worked. She like freaked out. She's like, what? So I think braces were new at the time. Nobody knew that you could just bend the wires out. And I'm like, look, I need help. I got out of detention. I was so proud of that.
I would be too.
Right. Especially detention. Oh, I didn't know that they had a highlight on the social work page. So Madison, do any of you guys know Madison Gonzalez?
Nope.
Well, now she's on the website about her internship and so yeah, if you did apply the old-fashioned way, you just go to our website. So under programs, and then social work, and then application. There it is. So, and this is the conference I'm at next week. So Thursday we won't have class. I feel like that's the first time I've given you guys a freebie. Does everybody else cancel class all the time? I don't think we're allowed to anymore. We're not supposed to, but I hear that it still happens. Conference is still like legit. Like I might do a live stream check-in. What are those called? A short? I'll do a short on YouTube for you. Is that 15 seconds, or they only give you a minute when you do a short? So I'll do a minute about the conference, and that's all you have to watch for class. And then if you do the application, it's basically right here under forms and documents. And if the application works, you can download it. If it doesn't, yeah, there it is. So this is the old school way you would fill it out. Like some people copy it into Word and paste it. And that would be it. Somebody mailed me this from prison 2 years ago. I was generally impressed, but we don't have an online program, so I felt sad for them. I'm like, we unfortunately don't have a way to educate you in the prison right now because we're not online. Isn't it? Like they had handwritten it and everything, like it was from Orange is the New Black. I was thinking they were going to send like extra stuff in the envelope, but they didn't. So I did feel sad that, yeah, this has been around for 14 years now. So any questions about the presentation? Does it seem straightforward for you guys? Everybody's going on Tuesday or Thursday or Tuesday. Might as well. That way it will be done. I can't believe we're in week 9 already, right? Because we get a whole week off for Thanksgiving, don't we? Like 10 straight days.
Can you tell me the dates?
It's like from the 20th to the 30th. Isn't that insane? November 20th. Let me see what the calendar looks like. I feel like it's literally that Saturday, the 19th or 20th. And then there it is right here. Ooh, maybe it's the 7th to the. Ooh, thank you. I was like.
The 20th to the 22nd, and then the 11th to the 25th, and then classes on the 20th.
So basically, you have off Sunday and Saturday, which is 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, and 26. That's like freaking Christmas in November. And then you got to come back for exams. What the hell is that? I'd rather have a fall break, like right now, and then just get 3 days off for Thanksgiving. You know?
It's all fun and games until you realize, like,
10 days off? Like,
10 days off.
that's a long ass, like, I can't get, that's like keeping your car not started in the wintertime and just like starting it back up again real fast to do final exams. Like, shit. Anyway. I bet you Christmas is like here. Anybody know?
I think they said December 8th.
Oh. So maybe the last day of class would be here.
Yeah.
Is the last day of class the 8th, or is that the last day of
I think
exams?
that's the last of it.
So really then the last day of class is the 1st? For real?
For real, but we got
And your exam here is, you'll be happy to know this, a self-reflection paper.
say that.
Yeah. So you can do that shit over Thanksgiving and be
Yeah,
done. Yes.
I've noticed in life.
Yes. And I can show you, it's basically like a series of questions like, what do you want to do with your life? What do you want to do with your knowledge in this field? What is, I can show you it if it's helpful.
How long is the paper?
Like a few pages.
First, I'll talk about right now.
Right?
You know, for real.
So I think there's one more paper due after this presentation. So that would be, say, November 1st, and then say that paper is due December 1st. Sounds about right. Just a few pages. It's literally about yourself. You cannot go any easier than that. Like, seriously. We can if you want to. But I think it's important because like self-reflection is a part of life. It's kind of the self-care stuff and things that we have to do. Like, what do you intend to do with your life? What do you want to do to, and without a plan, I end up unmapped in the middle of nowhere. Like, so if you kind of plan for it, let's see if it's in here. Well, first I'll open your PowerPoint. Is it week 9 or week 10?
I want to say it's week 10. I don't know though.
You're probably right though. Is that
Because homecoming week.
they like skipped?
I feel like last time I heard it was week 8 and then homecoming.
Okay. That sounds about right. Is then you would still have 10, 11's the 24th, 12 is the 31st, 13 is the 7th, 14 is then is freaking Thanksgiving. Holy shit. That's insane. Anyway, let's see if I can find it was called like Self. If I can find it, I'll put it up for you now. Like the last paper on diversity after you do this diversity assignment. And then the self-reflection paper. It might take me too long to find. I'll have it up for you before it's due. Damn. How many documents do you all keep on your stuff? Do you have 1 million documents saved on your Dropbox? Does anybody?
Not yet.
Do you want to?
I don't know.
All right. Well, so here is social work and social policy. So policy is a big part of social work because a lot of our funding comes from it. A lot of things that we do in life in general comes from it. Did you all ever look up the average rent around where you grew up or the average cost of a home from where you came up? Like how much does it cost to rent in your hometown?
$1 million.
What'd you say?
$1 million.
Oh, shit. I will say this because this is weird. I had a brother who bought a house because he got his toe cut off when he was 6 years old by the neighbor's lawnmower. Like the neighbor was cutting grass. I think my brother was 6 and he was throwing cicadas under the lawnmower, like those locust bugs. And he had his bike on the foot pedal like this. And the dude lifted the lawnmower and went, cut off his toe. Now, really, because I'm like, dude, you didn't even lose your bone. He got $40,000 in 1986 because it went to court. Homeowners insurance pays out for like, they skin graft from your hip. You take skin, they put it on where his big toenail would be. And now it grows hair because it's a skin graft. It grows hair in the middle of his toe, which is funny. But that $40,000 they put into like a trust. From 89 until 99, it was in the stock market and grew to $100,000. He bought a house in 1999, which they were about 100,000 or 150,000 back then. He's done this 4 times. He bought a house, rented it, rehabbed it, sold it, bought a house, rented it out, rehabbed it, sold it, bought it, rented it, rehabbed it, sold it. So somehow now he's accumulated 2 or 3 homes. And he started teaching at the University of Cincinnati. He teaches like sustainability. The house that he's buying next to the university this month, try to guess how much this stupid house costs. Seems close to that. It's 60% of that. And he started out buying, like $100,000 homes. I think that one sold for $300,000. And he bought another house for $40,000, sold it for $120,000. Bought another one for $80,000, sold it for like $150,000. So this is the housing bubble. But he's been kind of smart with it, like it was just smart money rented out. So he sold his last one he bought for $30,000 in Evanston, which is inner city Cincinnati. He bought it for $30,000 and sold it for $230,000. And this house in Clifton is going to cost him $600,000. There's only a 4-bed, 3-bed, 2 baths, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, $600,000. It's like, are you freaking
Are you
kidding me?
gonna tell him that this is rich people
He's getting dumb. My wife wanted to say that. I try to stay out of it because I'm like, dude, you do what you want. But it's all location. Like you can walk to all grocery stores. You can walk to campus. You can walk to like Indian restaurants, which is like people love that shit. 600, I think it's 589,000, and I'm like, dude. So if you got a loan for it, in the old days, a 3% loan, it might have been $2,500 a month. Now today, interest rate loans are 8.1%. To borrow money, say you borrow 500,000, you put down 100,000. Guess how much the payment would be if you took out a loan for it? 4,500 a month for 30 years. I bet you that's way more than $1 million actually. So if you like spread that out, 5,000 a month is 60,000 times 30 years, which I think would be, what's 60,000 times 30 years? Might be 3 million or 1,800,000. So I guess you're right. If he financed it, it would be, but he's going to put most of it down, and he's only going to borrow 100,000. Have any of you had to borrow money yet for a car or for student loans? I guess if you count that, FAFSA counts. So that gets us into the learning outcomes about policy and like how policy influences political ideologies and the development of social policy. Money has a lot to do with policy. I never really paid attention when they talked about it. Like, what the hell does an interest rate have to do with anything? And I'm like, well, my car payment, which one time I bought a car and they still had 0% loans, which I don't know if you guys have heard of that. You basically don't have to pay interest on the loan, but often they charge you $1,000 to do that. But a good example is housing. I was showing it to you a few weeks ago. And interest rates today being at 8 or 9%. The average housing payment a few years ago was $1,250 a month or even $1,300. Anyone guess what the average housing payment is with the 8% interest rate loan? It actually is. It's like 43% of the average income in the United States. So they're saying it's like $2,200 a month, $2,900 a month, like depending on, it's going up again. What's that? I don't know, and that's part of where policy is going to be a big part of that, like monetary policy, lending policy, the shit that like your eyes glaze over when you hear it. You're like, oh fuck, here we go talking about monetary policy. But I'd imagine most of you guys want to have affordable rents or housing, right? You guys all want to rent the rest of your life or buy a house? What would you rather? Buy a house?
I'm only buying a house if I have enough money to
Right.
pay it for. Like, I don't want to have
Cash.
money. Yeah.
You want to do it the Dave Ramsey way, where he's like, only borrow a 15-year loan and it should only be 25% of your income and you pay it off in 10. That's what he says. Right. Some people like a rental because you don't have to change the damn light bulbs, cut the grass, paint it, clean out the gutters.
But then one day somebody say you need to find someone.
Yes, they will kick you out, and you're right. It's true. Like 30-day notice the most. Hello, how are you? Good. Were you presenting today? Okay. Thursday or Tuesday you can do it also. Yeah, of course.
Wait, you mean Tuesday? Tuesday?
Right, or this Thursday. Sure. Yeah. So yeah, monetary policy has a lot to do with it. Have you guys ever heard of redlining before?
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain what it is? Because
I actually live in one kind of.
Okay.
Redlining is basically where like they have you spread out. It's like a line drawn in your sleeve. And back in the day, it used to be like where black people could not be at, or maybe a little bit of black people could be at, or no black people at all, or this is the whole black community. So it's like, like your states and your streets of where you could not be at,
Mm-hmm.
basically.
Right. And yes, it was found to be unjust. I do have a few videos that help explain it. This gets into policy also.
I think the color they used for my class, because I used it in math class, my sophomore year, was red. I think red, blue, and yellow.
Okay.
I think maybe green.
Okay. Well, so I have a little bit of a reflection. You guys watch this. Try to follow it because it does affect
Luther King stood for nonviolence. Now it's Martin Luther King, a street. And I don't give a fuck where you live in America. If you're on Martin Luther King Boulevard, there's some violence going down.
That, of course, is Chris Rock's famous joke about streets named for Martin Luther King Jr., which tend to be in, let's say, distressed areas. And he's not wrong, because if you look at the way housing segregation works in America, you can see how things ended up this way. Once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. Okay, let's look at MLK Boulevard in Baltimore. I want to show you how to see housing segregation in schools, in health, in family wealth, in policing. But first, an explanatory comma. It's the 1930s in the wake of the Great Depression. FDR is president. He wants to bring economic relief to millions of Americans through a collection of federal programs and projects called the New Deal. One part of that New Deal was the National Housing Act of 1934, which introduced ideas like the 30-year mortgage and low fixed interest rates. So now you have all these lower income people who can afford homes. But how do you make sure they don't default on their mortgages? Enter the Homeowners Loan Corporation. The HOLC created residential security maps, and these maps, they're where the term redlining comes from. Green meant best area, best people, aka businessmen. Blue meant good people, like white-collar families. Yellow meant a declining area with working-class families. And red meant detrimental influences, hazardous, like foreign-born people, low-class whites, and most significantly, Negroes. Again and again on these HOLC maps, one of the most consistent criteria for redline neighborhoods is the presence of Black and brown people. Let's be clear, studies show that people who lived in redlined areas were not necessarily more likely to default on their mortgages, but redlining made it difficult, if not impossible, to buy or refinance. So landlords abandon their properties, city services become unreliable, in most places crime increases, and property values drop. All of these conditions fester for 30 years as white people flee to the brand new suburbs popping up all over the country. Many of those suburbs institute rules called covenants that explicitly forbid selling homes to Black people. And all of this was perfectly legal. Now it's 1968 and MLK is assassinated.
Good evening. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, 39 apostle of nonviolence in the civil rights movement, has been shot.
Luther King was shot and was killed tonight.
In the aftermath, Congress passes the Fair Housing Act of 1968. It's a policy meant to encourage equal housing opportunities regardless of race or religion or national origin, and it offers protections for future homeowners and renters, but it does little to fix the damage already done. Over the next 50 years, the Fair Housing Act is rarely enforced. So you can still see housing segregation and its effects in Baltimore and often along any MLK Boulevard in any US city, like its effects on wealth. So home ownership is the major way Americans create wealth, right? Well, discrimination in housing is the major reason that Black families up and down the income scale have a tiny fraction of the family wealth that white families do, even white families with less education and lower incomes. For almost 30 years, 98% of FHA loans were handed out to white borrowers. Not only were Black neighborhoods redlined, and not only was the Fair Housing Act selectively enforced, if at all, but it is still today much harder for a Black person to get a mortgage or home loan than it is for a white person.
Families are fearful of speaking up about a basic human right that should be afforded to everyone in the world, but definitely in the richest country in the world.
And housing segregation in schools. The primary way that Americans pay for public schools is by paying property taxes. People who live in more valuable homes have better funded local schools, better paid teachers, better school facilities, and more resources. Here's the feedback loop. The better the schools in a neighborhood, the more those homes in that neighborhood are worth. And the higher the property values of those homes, the more money there is for schools, and so on and so on. And housing segregation in health. Because of urban planning that benefited those richer, whiter neighborhoods, people of color are more likely to live near industrial plants that spew toxic fumes. They're more likely to live far away from grocery stores with fresh food, and in places where the water isn't. They're more likely to live in neighborhoods with crumbling infrastructure and in homes with toxic pain.
When you're living with rats, roaches, and things like that, that's the problem. You cannot have that kind of stuff with children running around in a building that may be full of lead.
And not coincidentally, people of color have higher incidences of certain cancers, asthma, and heart disease. And housing segregation in policing. Housing segregation means we are having vastly different experiences with crime and vastly different experiences with policing. Because our neighborhoods are so segregated, sometimes racial profiling can be camouflaged as spatial profiling, where living in certain areas can make you more likely to be stopped by the police. And it means that people have a lot of unnecessary contact with the criminal justice system just because of where they live.
The problem in our city, the police and the citizens are fighting. They keep targeting my brothers and sisters who don't really have nothing.
And that heavy, aggressive kind of policing that you see in Black neighborhoods in particular makes people feel like they can't trust the police. And when people don't trust the police, crimes go unsolved, and people have to find other ways to keep themselves safe. But of course, it's not just Baltimore, because housing segregation and discrimination fundamentally shape the lives of people in nearly every major American city. It really is in everything. To hear more about how race shapes American life, visit npr.org/code switch. I'm Gene Demby. Be easy.
So did any of that make sense? That's a good illustration of how policy is so important and why we have to advocate for fair policy all throughout these red line neighborhoods. Oh, they have a South Park one on it? I didn't know that. It looks like South Park. I don't know if that's actually South Park. No, maybe not. So here's one other one that kind of breaks it down. They'll probably show us a commercial though. Any questions about it?
Redlining has a long, profound reach, and it continues to affect people of color in many aspects of their lives, especially their health, as you'll see in this video. After the Great Depression in the 1930s, President FDR wanted to bring economic relief to Americans. But let's preface this with the fact that it was the 1930s, so his concern was really for white Americans. The federal government started a series of programs called the New Deal. Besides increasing the housing stock, the New Deal purposefully segregated white Americans from Black Americans, immigrants, and Latinos. The New Deal offered incentives for whites to move out of inner city neighborhoods to the suburbs, a phenomenon known as white flight, by providing mortgage programs with targeted eligibility. The New Deal introduced legislation called the National Housing Act of 1934 to make housing and mortgages more accessible and affordable for white Americans. To further perpetuate segregation, the Homeowners Loan Corporation introduced a system of mapping of neighborhoods in cities across America called redlining. The HOLC graded and color-coded neighborhoods into 4 categories based on racial qualifications. Neighborhoods graded as A were best, B was still desirable, C was definitely declining, and D was hazardous. The government backed $120 billion in low-cost home loans between 1934 and 1962. 98% of loans went to white home buyers. African American families were prohibited from buying homes in the suburbs and gained none of the equity appreciation that whites gained. While white neighborhoods flourished, low-income minority neighborhoods attracted factories with dangerous pollutants, resulting in numerous health concerns. By policy, Black people were forced into neighborhoods that were underdeveloped. Also, as a result of redlining, public and private investments were blocked in Black neighborhoods. Property values decreased, city services were unreliable, crime increased, and a host of other inequities arose. This included disparities in health and education because local property taxes pay for our schools, hospitals, and other resources. Housing segregation was banned in 1968, but it didn't matter. The government had already been successful in creating the wealth gap between white and Black home ownership. Today, for every $100 held by a white family, Black families have $5.04. The effects of redlining still permeate our U.S. cities. Although it has evolved somewhat, it is still practiced in New Jersey, home of RWJ Barnabas Health. Banks no longer openly talk about explicitly denying Black people loans. Instead, some banks have quietly institutionalized bias in their operations. As recent as 2018, Hudson City Savings Bank settled a housing discrimination lawsuit in Hudson County for about $33 million, the largest redlining settlement in U.S. history. Today, homes in Black neighborhoods are valued at 25% lower than those in white neighborhoods. Many counties provide funding and resources to prevent chronic illnesses based on a 3-4-50 framework. There are 3 behaviors that affect 4 health conditions that contribute to 50% of all deaths. The 3 behaviors are physical inactivity, inadequate diets, and tobacco use. When there are few green spaces, trails, and fitness clubs in neighborhoods, then people don't get enough physical activity. When there are little to no grocery stores, people do not get adequate nutrition. And when the availability of tobacco and alcohol is higher in these neighborhoods, then that additional health problems. Healthy living should be right for everyone. However, one of the consequences of redlining is that many people live in food deserts. Food deserts are low-income communities where access to affordable, healthy food is limited or non-existent because grocery stores are too far away. The absence of affordable, healthy food, mostly in urban and rural communities, contributes to poor diet, obesity, and other diet-related illnesses. According to the United States Department of Agriculture, about 23.5 million people live in food deserts. This includes approximately 2.3 million people who live in low-income rural areas, do not have access to a vehicle, and are more than 10 miles from a supermarket. In New Jersey, the USDA has identified 134 food deserts, which affects approximately 340,000 residents. Additionally, the Reinvestment Fund, a nonprofit organization, has identified 10% of New Jersey's population, 924,000 residents, as food insecure, even if not in a federal.
So are some of these policies making any sense? That's the. It's,
Get you a screen, Dr. Child.
what happened? They don't want to sting you. They just literally. They just want sugar. That's why they keep coming to my tea. They're like, oh, I got some sugar to bring back to the hive and make some money. Well, it's cold enough that so bees hibernate under 50, but I think it just hit 51 degrees outside, so they'll come out and look for food at 51 degrees.
Let it be 49.
Be 48.
Yes.
Like,
Yes. So
I'll bring that. It depends on something.
So I wanted to kind of show something that shows a holistic policy thing. And bees are such, it's funny because I owned beehives for 4 years. So like,
What is Dr. Child? Like, why would you want to own bees?
and then I don't this year as we had too many kids in the past 3 years. So I gave my beehive suit to Central State and they have 50 beehives like a block away. Well, they got a $10 million grant to build those beehives. Well, it's yellow jackets are who sting. The honeybees are just making honey and pollinating your corn and your beans and your crops. So without bees, we don't get to eat, which sucks. But it's like looking at a holistic view of why policy. So this is chapter 10, why policy affects us. Yeah. No, you're fine. What was the most shocking about any of that you guys saw, or what? Did you already know all that? Is that just new information, or you're like, I done knew all that already?
It was just more in-depth
Right. Well, like the actual policy that started food deserts, we're doing research on both food deserts and racial equity and behavioral health. So our presentation at the conference this summer was REBH, is the racial disparities in mental health in the state of Ohio. And there's a lot. It's reminded me to send this on to Edison and the other folks that we do this research. Yeah, they're scared. I promise until I think you just, until you swat at them, they don't mess with you.
It's over here. It's over here.
Is it still on the floor?
It was on the floor.
He got away. He's like, somebody's gonna kill me. I got stung this summer, actually. When's the last time you all been stung? Anybody been stung? I'm allergic to them. It does suck. So yeah, a lot of policy, a lot of important work still has to be done about the disparities in both mental health and physical health. What did you guys think about the physical health one, or what they are kind of describing here at the end of this one about food deserts? They said only 23 million live in a food desert. I feel like it's more than that. I feel like way more than 23 million people live in a food desert.
That's just the United States.
Right, that is just for the U.S., but I still think that there's more. We have 350 million population, and I feel like most of them are in the big inner cities, but maybe I'm wrong. So in social work, we look at the relationship between social work and policy. We trace the development of public welfare policies in the 20th and 21st century. So they were saying they had lawsuits of redlining up until 2018. So the ones in 2018, try to guess how they were able to discriminate against people they were approving loans for. Apparently it was based off their last name. Like they were able to tell if it was Gonzalez or, like different names that sound differently. And then a synopsis of contemporary public welfare programs. So yes.
It's not exactly what you said, but it's also in agreement with it. My mom made sure for me and my brother's names because they know that people do discriminate and try to guess who you are. My mom made sure that me and my brother's first and last names and all of our, because we have our dad's last name, of course, but she made sure that all of our, both of our names, first and middle names, you can't tell if we're black or white or whatever. Because people discriminate, so that's how she named both of us.
How do you spell your full name?
My name?
Yeah.
PSALMISTMONEACOLLINS.
Okay. Well, what's your dad's last name then?
Collins.
Okay, and then what's your mom's last name?
Collins.
Oh. The same last name? Well, what was her I guess that's what I'm asking.
Her maiden name?
Yes, that's what I'm
asking. Before my parents were married, well, they're not married anymore, but before they were married, her last name is Moore.
Okay, right. So that was, what is 2018, just 5 years ago? So they've had lawsuits as recent as 2018, but just, again, monetary policy, how the interest rates play out, and what it looks like. So social workers definitely get themselves involved. I want to see if our UC presentation is on here because we presented about racial disparities in mental health this summer. And if I don't find it today, I'll try to find it for you guys for Thursday. But that is the intro to your chapter and some of the social policy, and then the different laws that were passed for and how they're passed. Some of them are executive orders. That means the president did it. Some are congressional actions. Judiciary is like a judge. There's also administrative, and then even different programs and services that came from them. So in social work, and in psychology, and in any job field, understand the intent and impact of policy considerations for policy analysis, how well policy reaches its target population. Housing is my best example because that affects all of us. Like, we want to go out and buy a house, we want to go out and get rentals. Like, the interest rate and borrowing money to buy that house is the most important thing. Any questions on that? As we'll finish this one on Thursday. A few more of you are presenting. Try to present Thursday or Tuesday because I'm not here next Thursday. You get a freebie. You get a YouTube short for class that's 60 seconds next Thursday. That's your class. You all doing your self-care? Eating more vegetables, drinking more water? I have to. Well, that is all I've got. If somebody has a piece of paper for the sign-in sheet, I don't today.